Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast. With your hosts, Ashley and Michael, please sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast presented by the Undroppables. I am your host, Ashley. This is my lovely co-host, Michael Duncan. How are you doing tonight?
Absolutely horribly.
Yeah, tell us why.
The Philadelphia Phillies suck at baseball.
Down goes
That's all I
Philly.
got. It's I'm used to it at this point.
Red
It's
October, huh?
Honestly, go choke and die.
I'm not a Mets fan.
I know.
It's New York
I
beating
just
Philly.
don't like you.
I know. You're mad at me.
Great.
Yeah, so we're back. We're ready to go. Been a couple things of football, lots to talk about. I got to go to the Alabama-Georgia game. That was so fun. Was still recovering last week when I got back. Felt a little sick afterwards. So we're back. We're here. Lots of news to talk about. Obviously, the biggest piece of news this week is that Robert Saleh has been fired as the Jets head coach. Owner Woody Johnson said that it's my decision and my decision alone. Although he says he did consult Joe Douglas first, he ultimately made the decision. This is the first time in his 25-year tenure with the New York Jets that he has fired a head coach in the season. Saleh apparently came into the building business as usual, and the decision took pretty much everyone by surprise. That report comes from Jordan Schultz. Defensive players especially, as they cite Saleh as a huge piece of transforming that Jets defense. There were plenty of rumors going around about how originally the firing was going to be Nate Hackett, but then transferred to Saleh, which sparked more rumors about Aaron Rodgers being involved to save his longtime buddy, Nate Hackett. He spoke on the Pat McAfee podcast this week and says that rumors about his involvement in the firing of Saleh are entirely false. Saleh came out this week with a statement that he thanks the Jets organization for the opportunity. He says he truly loves every one of his players and the character of the team. To his coaches and staff, it's been an honor. And to the Jets fans, thank you for embracing my family. It's been a pleasure calling New York our home, and we will forever appreciate the memories we created here. The new interim head coach is Jeff Ulbrich.
Did you mention that he was escorted out of the building by security?
Yeah, a lot of people said that wasn't true.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think it was misconstrued because people that were like notable have talked about how like normal when you're fired from a place, like a security team will like walk you to the door to make sure you don't like steal things on your way out, but he wasn't like escorted out like in this big hoopla.
Yeah, I am looking for anything that is like sure of it one way or the other, but I'm only seeing that he was escorted out. So I guess it just
remains a mystery.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I saw a really good tweet and I don't remember who it was from, which I'm going to try and find it while I say it. But essentially it's that normally when you fire a head coach this early into the season, it's less of a failure on the coach and more of a failure on ownership, because basically they just kind of got sort of guilted into a one last chance kind of last ditch effort to here it is. It's from Jason from Over the Cap, Jason_OTC. Same thing I'll say for any team. If you are firing a coach this early in a year, it's a failure by ownership. These are changes that should be made in the offseason. Getting talked into give him one more chance is just bad for the organization and the coach too. So yeah, I think that was a really good way to sum it up. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but I tend to agree. I don't really think it's his fault, but I don't fully blame them for doing it, because I think at the end of the day, like unless they went on a miraculous run, I don't think he makes it out of this season. Granted, they are still within one game of leading the AFC East. Yep. So there's a couple different ways of thinking about that. It's like, okay, let's make the change now and maybe catch fire. Maybe we need to make that change so we can before the season's over. The other one is like,
it's working enough.
Yeah, something is going right to some degree. And I get that you can't exactly bench Aaron Rodgers. You can't exactly cut Aaron Rodgers, but I don't see how firing Robert Saleh at this point in the season is really going to solve what's wrong with the team, which is not really the defense. It's much more Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, I don't love it. I can't say that I particularly hate it, but I don't really think it's going to change much.
Yeah, I agree. I think making this move in week 5 is tough because I think this is a move that should come with also letting go of the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And gripe with Nate Hackett, but truly that's the Achilles heel of this Jets team is the offense currently. Robert Saleh is a defensive coach. He is a defensive minded head coach. He was crucial. Players cite it, analysts cite it. Robert Saleh was crucial in turning around that Jets defense. Do you remember what 2-3 years ago I texted you and was like, when do the Jets make this Super Bowl? Because like this is a defense that is that quality. And that was fresh in their defensive rebuild. Robert Saleh turned them around. While he is the head coach and he is responsible for everything, you can pinpoint that he did that. So how does the offensive coordinator, the worst part of this yin and yang, still have his job? I find that hard to believe, like hard to back behind. But I understand that it's hard to do a complete overhaul in a coaching staff or an almost complete overhaul in a coaching staff in week 5. That's a lot of change. Yeah. I probably would have went the other way.
Yeah, but again, the fact that it's hard to do that complete overhaul in week 5 goes to, well, that's why you do it in the offseason. So
yeah. Yep.
Comes back to that. So.
Yep. Some more news. Patriots safety Jabril Peppers has been placed on the commissioner's exempt list as of this morning. That follows his arrest on Saturday morning in Braintree, Massachusetts. The police say that he is charged with assault and battery with a deadly weapon, strangulation, and possession of a Class B substance per Boston 25 News. He was arraigned in court on Monday. His next court date is set for November 22nd. Patriots came out and said they do not condone domestic violence of any kind. Gerard Mayo did say that Peppers does have to kind of just go through the system, go through due process, get it figured out. Do you know if there's been a statement by Jabril Peppers yet?
I haven't seen one. I didn't even know what he got arrested for. I asked you and you didn't answer me. So.
Yeah, so the Class B possession charge is believed to be cocaine through like some leaks. For some reason, I feel like Jabril Peppers, like there was a conversation that came about that says that, I don't know if it was in a statement of his or through someone, that this was all misconstrued and that the woman involved in this altercation wouldn't leave the apartment or something. But I could be misquoting that.
He did not put out a statement.
Okay. All right. I don't know where I saw that. So everything else is true for sure. He was arrested, he was arraigned, and he is placed on the commissioner's exempt list. That's a big blow for the Patriots defense.
Yeah. Agreed.
Huge. In other legal news, Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson has officially settled the latest civil lawsuit against him. More civil lawsuits than touchdown passes with the Browns. Yep. Do you think maybe that's why he was too busy thinking about that, and that's why he walked off the field on Sunday? Anyway,
I will. No, hold on. That was. I don't like to say fake news, but I legitimately can't think of another word for it. No, that is very
I saw the breakdown.
It was misinterpreted. So yeah. I just want to say that he didn't give up on. He sucks, and I don't like him. He didn't give up on his team and disobey his head coach in that exact scenario that you may have seen a video of. If you don't know what I'm talking about,
too many men on the field.
Yes, just ignore.
Yeah. Steelers outside linebacker TJ Watt becomes the second fastest player to 100 sacks when he took down Dak Prescott on, would that be Sunday night? Or was it Monday morning? Was it on Sunday night?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it was on Sunday night.
You know who the fastest was?
No. I remember them seeing it, but I forgot.
Reggie White.
Okay. All right. There we go. In position news, I guess, Raiders will be moving to start QB Aiden O'Connell this Sunday as they bench Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew was actually benched this previous Sunday after he threw his second interception against the Broncos. And now they're going back to Aiden O'Connell, who is in his second year now. The Patriots will be starting their rookie quarterback Drake May this week as he takes the role over from Jacoby Brissett, who has not done great. And Kevin Stefanski remains adamant that they are not making a QB change, as he looks like he's in some sort of hostage video at the news conference, and Jameis Winston is somewhere in the corner waiting in the wings. Blink twice, Mr. Stefanski, if you're allowed to venture quarterback.
He's not. He's definitely not.
Yeah. No, definitely not. So the Browns for now seem to be riding with Deshaun Watson. There have been plenty of, like, it seems to be getting a little leaky in the Browns facilities. Lots of conversations recently about how Deshaun Watson is like not warming up with the team, not really talking to people.
His teammates hate him.
Yeah.
But he makes a crap ton of money and they can't cut him. So
yeah. So, but I want to say this is like the first point though that we're starting to see like real things coming out of that Browns organization. It's getting drippy. And we have our players of the week for the AFC. That would be offensive player of the week would be Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. He went 26 for 42 with 2 touchdowns. He provided 400 yards of offense, 55 yards on the ground in the thrilling overtime win against the Bengals with a score of 41-38. On defense, that's Broncos quarterback Patrick Surtain III with 2 interceptions, 3 tackles, and a 100-yard pick 6. And on special teams for the AFC, that would be the Texans kicker Kaimi Fairbairn. He had a game-winning 59-yard field goal. He also hit from 50, 47, and had 2 point-after touchdowns. On to the NFC. On offense, that would be the Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins. It is Kirktober after all. 42 for 58 for the franchise with the franchise record of 509 yards and a 45-yard walk-off touchdown to Kaderil Hodge. On defense, that would be Packers safety Xavier McKinney, who had an interception. He's had 1 in every game this season. 3 tackles, 2 pass breakups, and 1 fumble recovery. And on special teams, that's Giants safety Isaiah Simmons, who was responsible for the 60-yard blocked kick, which he returned for a touchdown to bring the Giants to a 29-20 win over the Cardinals. Yeah.
Before we move on.
Yes.
Have you watched any of the Aaron Hernandez show on Hulu?
I have not watched that. I've watched every other thing that's came out about Aaron Hernandez, the entire universe, but not that yet. It was like new episodes every week, and I wanted to wait till it was all out. Show. Yeah.
It is. I don't know if it's good or terrible, or I don't really know what it is, but there is something like really bizarre about looking at all these like normally when I'm watching a biopic, it's like one dude who they go.
You say it like that?
A biopic? How is it supposed to be said?
Biopic.
No, I say biopic.
No, it's a biographical picture.
Yeah, I believe you. I say biopic.
Like myopic, like an eye disease.
Sure. Normally when I watch a biopic, no, I don't like that.
Yes. That's right. Stress me out.
Yeah, because I like a biography, a biopic. That's why I say it like that.
No, that you're right. Biopic. That is what it is. You just said it the right way.
No, I say biography. So bio.
I gotcha.
Biopic.
You're saying biopic.
Biopic. I give up. I don't know what I say anymore, and I've already thought too much about it to have any clue. Yeah, I got nothing. Whatever. Normally when I watch one of those, it's like one really famous person who you just kind of accept. And like it's long enough ago that you're not really like concerned that they don't look exactly like the person. But like every other person in this show is someone that you know really well as a person, like that I know really well as a person in terms of like having seen them 1,000 times or heard them. So like as soon as it got to Florida, it was like a little weird. Like Tim Tebow not being Tim Tebow is very bizarre because I've seen Tim Tebow's face about 100,000 times. But then I'll tell you what, when they got to the Patriots, which was the most recent episode, Bill Belichick in particular,
freaking you out?
Yeah, it's weird. And like, I don't know if the actor's doing a bad job necessarily. I think it's just really hard to make Bill Belichick.
Your brain's playing tricks.
It's hard to make Bill Belichick an interesting TV character because like, when does he show emotion? When does he do like, I guess now he kind of is on like TV, but during his time as a head coach, like they make him like this, like cackling to himself, mad genius that talks to himself. Like it's really weird. It's bizarre. I can't explain it. You just have to watch it. Robert Kraft looks really funny. Gronk shockingly sounds exactly like Gronk.
Huh.
He got his like weird laugh down to like like nailed. It's definitely like a guy doing an impression of Gronk rather than just like acting, but it's shockingly good, except when it's not. But it's really funny. So yeah, it is an interesting show. I don't know if it's good or not, but I'm really enjoying watching it because it's really bizarre in a lot of ways.
I'll let you know my thoughts once I watch it.
Yeah, I don't know
wait
how
for
many.
at least a chunk of episodes to come out, if not the whole thing.
I mean, there's like 5 or 6 out right now. I don't know how many there are total that are gonna come out, but yeah,
I'm gonna say 8.
That's been on like that's been on the top of my mind lately.
Yeah. Is it 8? That's
I'm
my guess.
Just trying to figure that out.
For a short biopic, I'm gonna like a mini-series biopic. I'm gonna say it's 8 episodes.
10.
Okay. All right, makes sense.
10.
All right, you want to talk about the biggest injuries of the week?
No.
Me either. It's destroying my fantasy teams. Texans wide receiver Nico Collins was placed on IR with a hamstring injury. So he is slated to miss 4 weeks once you're placed on IR. As a reminder, you do have to miss 4 weeks. You can miss more. And then once they elevate, you have a certain amount of days to come back. Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman is expected to miss several weeks with a back injury. And Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice, who got injured last week, took some time to get accurate imaging because of all of the swelling in his knee. He apparently does need to have surgery to repair his LCL and is expected to miss the rest of the season. I wanted to look something up while we wait and to move on to the next category. Okay, so Raiders defensive tackle Christian Wilkins is out indefinitely after foot surgery, and Dolphins linebacker Jalen Phillips tears his ACL and is expected to miss the rest of the season. Also, Kayvon Thibodeau apparently came out this morning and said that he had wrist surgery. That would be Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau. He had surgery on his wrist and is now considered week to week. They do expect him to miss some time. And we missed last week, but Malik Neighbors was out this week with a concussion.
I don't like Kayvon Thibodeau.
I know you don't.
Although Phillies are down by 3. Guys on first and second. No outs.
Oh, big.
So
huge.
Cody Clemens up, pinch hitter. All right, we'll see.
It would be in the Mets' wheelhouse to blow it.
They're not going to blow it because the Phillies are going to find a way to blow it. But I'm just, you'll get my live reaction.
Okay. During 15-second frenzy?
No, probably not during 15-second frenzy because I don't have it open. But
all right. As a reminder, my favorite segment of this show is 15-second frenzy. That will be where I am going to use the stopwatch to time Mr. Michael Duncan. He has only 15 seconds to tell you whatever he wants or whatever he doesn't want to tell you about this week of the NFL. Whether that be plays, players, scores, whatever. That's your quickest recap you'll get anywhere. He has 15 seconds to tell you about every single game, and I will tell him when it's time to move on. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Bucks versus the Falcons. Kirk Cousins broke his primetime curse, at least for now, and also broke his own record for most passing yards in a game in this unexpected Thursday night shootout. Going to overtime, the Bucks blew it, plain and simple, after the Falcons gifted them the win with a Kirk interception. Regardless of who won, it was cool to have a really good and fun Thursday night football game. Vikings versus Jets. The game that got Robert Saleh fired is the same game that Aaron Rodgers threw 3 interceptions, which was clearly a coaching problem. Garrett Wilson had 23 targets, but only caught 13 of them for 101 yards. The Vikings, meanwhile, continue to roll as they move ahead to 5-0, and Sam Darnold showed his old team what's up once again. Panthers versus Bears. By far the best looking game yet for the first overall pick, Caleb Williams, which has just got to sting for the team that theoretically could have had him in the Panthers. Also a big day for DJ Moore, who put up over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns against his former team. The big stat for me is just 1 sack for Caleb Williams, which had to feel good, literally. Ravens versus Bengals. I actually had to go back and remind myself who won this game, which was the second overtime game of the week. Lamar gifted the Bengals the game with a fumble in overtime, but the Bengals were unable to capitalize. A missed field goal and a 50-yard Derrick Henry run later, and the game was the Ravens for the taking. Probably the best game of the week. Bills versus Texans. The Bills are the only team in the 45 years to be tied or leading in the final minute of the game inside their own 5-yard line and throw 3 straight passes. This, of course, gave the Texans time and the field position to get the game-winning field goal. Stephon Diggs had a good day against his former team as well. And Colts versus Jaguars. Joe Flacco is seemingly getting better with age, nearly leading a huge comeback this week. But thankfully for Doug Peterson and the Jag season, they were able to hang on and hit the game-winning field goal after the Colts were able to tie it with just under 3 minutes left. Jaguars season might still be over, but at the very least, they were able to get the first one of the seasons. Patriots versus Dolphins. God, this was boring. It was exactly what I was expecting, and I was still disappointed. Jacoby Brissett versus Tyler Huntley. Woohoo. I got nothing else to say about this game. It was 15-10.
Next one.
Commanders versus Browns. Don't look now, but the Commanders are 4-1, rolling and showing no signs of slowing down. Jaden Daniels is the front runner for Rookie of the Year for good reason, racking up 82 yards on the ground to go along with over 200 through the air. And that was without even having to play the entire game. I've yet to decide if I think the Commanders team is legit, but I believe them a little bit more every week. Raiders versus Broncos. After a slow start to the season, Bo Nix and this Broncos offense has been finding its rhythm as of late. Nothing too crazy, but they're now 3-2, and Bo Nix had probably the best game of the season so far. Raiders, meanwhile, have once again turned to Aiden O'Connell moving forward, and there are a lot of rumors surrounding the future of star wide receiver Davante Adams.
Next.
Cardinals versus Niners. Both of these teams are 2-3, and I couldn't feel more different about either one. I actually thought the Cardinals had a better record than that, but they were able to get their second win after a great come-from-behind victory this week against their division rivals. Down 10 points in the fourth quarter, both the offense and the defense stepped up, led by over 80 yards on the ground from Kyler. Seahawks versus Giants. I continue to have no idea what to make of the Seahawks team after 2 straight losses, this one being to a lowly Giants team. I have to hand it to them, though. Even without star rookie Malik Neighbors, Daniel Jones had a half-decent game and got the win. The biggest story for me, though, was the other rookie, running back Tyrone Tracy, who had 18 carries for 129 yards. Packers versus Rams. A huge game for young tight end Tucker Kraft and another great game for wide receiver Jaden Reed. The Packers get the win, and the Rams are honestly probably just happy to get to the bye week in mostly one piece. Feels like they are just constantly getting more banged up, but their weapons down the depth chart are stepping up in the meantime. Shout out to Jordan Whittington, the rookie. Cowboys versus Steelers. The Cowboys tried their hardest to blow this game against the Steelers, but managed to pull it out anyway. Dak looked not great, throwing 2 interceptions and winning the game, I guess. Now that Russell Wilson is fully practicing, I'm really interested to see whether or not Justin Fields has done enough to keep the starting job, at least for now. Chiefs versus Saints. Chiefs versus Saints. Saints have crashed down to earth after starting 2-0, and the Chiefs remain undefeated. It was a classic Mahomes game, and Kelsey has gotten much more involved as of recently. The more surprising stat line was Juju going 7 for 130 on the night, not to mention the return of Kareem Hunt. Chiefs continue to just make things work.
Next.
That was it.
Oh, so I swapped them. Thank you. Wow. Swapped it. There. Got confused. I do want to talk real quick. We didn't get to talk about it during the beginning. I want to talk about the Davante Adams situation.
Yeah.
So Davante Adams was a little bit banged up. Is getting better. But there are plenty of trade rumors floating around. Antonio Pierce says like he doesn't really know where it all fell apart right now. He's not really sure. Davante Adams is posting weird stuff like a wide receiver does. Yep. So he's posting pictures of Edgar Allan Poe, which has people thinking he may be going to the Ravens. I'm pretty sure the Jets said something like, "We're so excited to have you." So who knows? So what's your thoughts on this?
The Philly season is over.
Oh, God.
Kyle Schwarber struck out swinging with guys on second and third. So
good.
Goodbye, Red October. Yeah. You were pretty miserable while you lasted, I'll be honest. Anyway, Davante Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have no idea what to think. It feels like he's been on trade rumors since he got traded there, which is the most bizarre part because that's seemingly where he wanted to go. Yeah. I know Derek Carr was a part of that equation.
Speaking of, I didn't mention his injury. Yeah. So sorry. I'm going to interrupt that real quick. He got hurt. Spencer Rattler will be starting this week in lieu of Derek Carr.
Yes. Rookie, 4th round pick? Something like that?
Yeah. And Derek Carr's out with an oblique tear, so he'll miss a decent amount of time. Okay.
So yeah, it's just I don't know what to think of it. It always felt weird that Davante Adams wanted to go there in the first place, especially getting traded away from Green Bay. Because it didn't feel like one of those situations where at the time it's not like they had a bunch of up and coming young guys who were going to take his spot. It was just like, no, suddenly he doesn't want to be a Packer. And now there's talk of him wanting to go back to Aaron Rodgers. And it's like, why did he leave in the first place? So that's weird to me. And that's weird to me because he wanted to get away from him to go to Derek Carr. I guess the Saints are no longer an option because of Derek Carr's injury. And apparently they were an option at one point. The Jets, I don't feel like that would solve much. So
No.
I don't know why the Jets would do that. I mean,
The thing though is the Jets had, like you said, 23 targets to Garrett Wilson.
yeah.
That's not sustainable at all. You can't target one guy 23 times in a game. It's just, and keep doing that. So I can understand the logic to a point. I don't think it's going to fix everything. The offensive line's still not great. Aaron Rodgers isn't playing great, but having somebody who helps free up your offense a little bit more could be helpful.
I mean, I'm not going to say that trading for Davante Adams is ever going to be a bad thing, because like it's going to be a good thing. He's a great wide receiver. But I just don't think that's the issue. Like they don't have great weapons, but they have Breece Hall, who's been able to not really get it going. Allen Lazard is there he's a solid enough wide receiver too. Garrett Wilson is great, and the fact that he only caught 13 of those 23 targets tells he didn't drop 10 passes. They were not good targets. So I don't know. I don't know why, if you're Davante Adams, why you want to go there. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in Las Vegas for sure, but like I think there's a lot more places that make a lot more sense. So I don't know. I wouldn't do it if I was the Jets, that's for sure. I'd be thrilled if I was the Raiders, because this season is coming crashing down around them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a really bizarre situation, but I've felt that way about Davante Adams since like the moment he got traded to Las Vegas. Honestly, it never made sense to me. And then it seems like after that first year, he's seemingly been wanting to be traded every year since then. So
yeah. How do you feel about the Ravens, since he posted Edgar Allan Poe on his Instagram story?
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I really like Zay Flowers, but he's not the level of like Garrett Wilson, or even a Chris Olave in New Orleans, where I think he would really benefit by not being the number one guy. I think he's still got a lot of room to grow, and obviously he has a lot of talent, but Davante Adams is an incredible route runner. He'd be awesome for Lamar. He'd be great for that offense, because Derrick Henry is rolling right now. Obviously Lamar is Lamar. I mean, I think that's the scariest thing for the NFL. Is the Ravens, probably. Like, even going to the Bills, that
was the talk too. Yeah.
Really good. I think that's like the biggest overall improvement that could be made to a roster with that one trade, seemingly.
Yeah, and I think that's best for his ego. It's a weird way to say it, but I think just being like the number one, no competition, not really much else. You got James Cook there. You have the Dalton Kincaid and everything, but like, you're the wide receiver. It's Stephon Diggs all over again. It's like, it's Stephon Diggs.
I think he would be.
I feel like that's the best for his ego, the best outcome for his goals would be the Ravens.
See, I don't, and maybe I'm just wrong here, I don't view Davante Adams in that Stephon Diggs kind of category of like, he really needs his ego to be fed.
Oh, I disagree. I think he's a drama queen.
I don't really think he never really has been. I don't think, not comparatively.
No, I think there are much bigger drama queens, but I think he is still a drama queen.
Look, I could be wrong, and I might just get smoked after this, and like people are going to send me tweets or whatever. But like, comparatively, when I think of guys like Stephon Diggs, like even AJ Brown. I love AJ Brown, and I don't think in reality I think there's a lot of nuance to that situation, and that's partly because of Philadelphia media that exists. But like, I don't think Davante Adams is the guy that's going to get upset if they win and he only has 6 targets, because I've seen that happen in Green Bay. I've seen that happen in Las Vegas. Like, if they're losing and he's getting 4 targets, yeah, of course. But I think if he goes to the Ravens, like, again, I still think he could get 10, 15 targets a game with the Ravens, because it's not like Mark Andrews is getting any. And I think Zay Flowers I like Zay Flowers long term. I still think he's really talented, but I think he's better with less targets anyway. Like, I don't think he should be the number one option on that offense. The problem with Buffalo is I don't think there's enough to keep defenses honest. Like, I think there's enough going on in Baltimore where even with a few less targets, you can't just take Davante Adams out of the game. You can't just say, okay, we're going to, like in Buffalo, it's you take Davante Adams out of the game and it's like, all right, I mean, they got the rookie, they got Dalton Kincaid, they have James Cook. Like, I'm not scared of any of those guys. If I try and take Davante Adams out of the game in Baltimore, I'm a little scared of Zay Flowers, not as the number one option, but as the guy that, we're hyper focusing two guys on Devontae Adams. And then there's Derrick Henry, which we're trying to load the box because he's been great. And then there's Mark Andrews, who has been having a down year, but is still one of the best tight ends in the league. So I don't know. There's a lot more for me to like if I'm Devontae Adams in Baltimore.
I agree. And I think that's probably best for your overall long-term objectives with getting a Super Bowl. Like, getting a Super Bowl, walking away with a ring from wherever you're going next. And I think the Ravens are set up better for that. As much as we all tout the Bills to be able to get to the playoffs, they have not shown me enough. And I think the Ravens have a much better outlook for that. I do have one more question for you since you brought it up in 15-second frenzy. If you are the Steelers organization, are you pulling a Tanya Harding and clubbing Russell Wilson's shins? Because it seems like he shouldn't have been out for this long and you've been wanting to play with Justin Fields. But now he, like you said, he's on track to become healthy, which he has been since the preseason. Are you just clubbing his shins and letting Fields ride?
I mean, I'm not clubbing his shins. I'm just letting Fields ride. I don't view Russell Wilson as the kind of, I don't think you have to club his shins. I think it's just it's not like Russell Wilson's in a place to be making demands. That's kind of where I'm at with it. It's not like you've got, this isn't Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe. And I mean that both in good ways and bad ways. Like, Drew Bledsoe is a really good quarterback when he got injured. Russell Wilson has not been good for a matter of seasons. So, in no world, if I'm the Steelers, am I thinking oh, well, I'm actually pleased how Justin Fields is playing, but I'd rather have Russell Wilson out there. It's no. If Justin Fields starts to falter, sure, you're glad you have Russell Wilson there, but I don't think that he's okay, well, now that he's healthy, we have to start him. I don't think anyone feels that way.
Okay. Two of my favorite fun facts from the week that I like to talk about is that the Vikings are 5-0, obviously. The last team to go 5-0 and miss the playoffs was, can you guess who?
The Vikings.
The Vikings.
In front of me.
Yeah, the Vikings. I know. It's on the show sheet. It is the Vikings. So let's...
You know when that was?
No. 20... I had the tweet I saw it from. I should probably cite that person. Hold on. It is from... Oh, I did write that down on the show sheet. It's from Allie at Real Allie Gabriel on Twitter. She didn't put a year in here, actually. 2003, they started 6-0 and missed the playoffs.
They've done it twice.
Yeah, so in 2003, they started 6-0 and missed the playoffs.
Yep. And then 2016 was the other time.
Okay, I was going to say 17, but yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. That was that was... We kind of Philadelphia kind of destroyed their season, and that was the same year that we traded them Sam Bradford for a first round pick. Oh man, that franchise, man, that is funny. At least something Vikings can make me smile about Philadelphia sports. Let's not think about what happened after that.
Love that for you.
Yeah, thanks.
My other favorite fun fact comes from, if you are a diehard football fan, you watched so many hours of football this week. If you watched on Saturday with the college games and you followed it all the way till Cal, you were up until East Coast time very, very late. You started at 9:30 with the London games, and you ended on Monday because the Steelers Cowboys was in a rain delay. Started an hour late. Looked like they were going to cancel it there for a little bit for how late it was going, and they started it anyway. And the game ran into the following day. So it was on Monday. And that makes Mr. Dak Prescott, Undroppables Playbook, total favorite guy ever, the first player to throw 2 interceptions in the same game in different days. Love that.
I love it.
Love that.
That is one of my favorite fun facts.
That is a great one.
Great
one of the week. All right. For the remainder of the show, we're going to give you some of our thoughts. We have lists that we're going to ask the other person and put them in a category, cooking or cooked. And if you need a middle ground, needs a little time in the oven. So each of us are going to have 4 people lined up, 4 people, players, teams, whatever it is, coaches, and give them to the other and hear their thoughts. So,
and obviously the definition of each being they're cooking, meaning they're doing very well, and let them cook. And they're cooked means that they're done for. Yeah. Just throw them out.
Yeah. All right. So I will start. I am going to ask you about the Bengals team and coaching staff, I guess. The Bengals as a whole at this current moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're still cooking a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think they're cooked. I think is probably a better way to put it. Which inherently means that I probably am putting them in some type of middle ground that we argued for about 15 minutes over before the show. But I am going to put them
in the oven.
Yeah, I am going to put them in cooking though, because I think they have been getting steadily better. They've been getting steadily more healthy as well. Obviously, Jamar Chase has had a huge couple of weeks. He's back on the field. T. Higgins is back on the field after not being there to start the season. And yet, like, their record doesn't look great. But at the same time, they were really competitive with a team that I think is really good in the Ravens that are now 3-2. They're 1-4, and that's not good. No. But if they get hot at the right time, like we've seen it in the NFL, they still have a lot of divisional games left, and it's a long season. They have very little room for error moving forward. However, this was they played a really, really good game, a game that they arguably had every chance to win. Granted, they didn't. And they did it against what a lot of people consider one of the best teams in the league, the team who was the number 1 seed in the AFC last year. So I don't think they're cooked. I think they're still cooking something up. I'm just yet to see exactly what that is. So,
yeah, I want to look up exactly how many teams have made the NFL playoffs after starting 1-4. I have the data from 0-3. So 6 teams have made the playoffs after an 0-3 start. The most recent being the 2018 Houston Texans. That was from CBS Sports. If you go back to 1970, 253 teams have started 1-4. Only 15 of those have ended up making the postseason. The last time was the 2020 Washington football team at that point.
The football team in 2020?
That was football team. That was Taylor Heineke, right?
Oh,
Against Tom Brady.
Oh,
I think that was Heineke versus Brady.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So that was the most recent one, was 2020 Washington football team.
Time is not real.
No, not at all. I don't know. I'm always have this veil of the Bengals start bad, right? But at some point, that's just like, it's not acceptable anymore.
You'd think.
Yeah, you would. And you and I've had a lot of conversations about Zach Taylor, and I know you've always been lower on Zach Taylor than I had been in previous years. And I think it's starting to show. I think this team has a lot of weaknesses. There was a lot of drama leading up to week 1 with Jamar Chase and contract extensions. But you pay Joe Burrow. You have people in that team. You let go of Joe Mixon. You have people on the team you're still going to have to pay. And I think it's unacceptable. I tend to agree with you, though. I think they have a lot more in the tank, but I think it's going to require a lot more than they're capable of. So I think they're still cooking, but I think at the end that it's not going to end the best.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. All right. For me.
Oh, yeah. I'm asking you. Yeah, so I'm going to start with Aaron Rodgers. Got his coach fired, seemingly. And what do we got moving forward?
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is cooked. I think it's pretty much it's Jover. He has looked like a shell of himself in the backfield. He is going to have a hard time, I think, with a new head coach in a team that's going to be in, I don't want to say emotional disarray, because I know that this is their job and they get over it. But the team is going to have hurdles with moving to a new head coach. And I don't know that he is fit enough at this moment to weather the storm. He's gone
mentally
kind of
or
off,
physically?
Both, truly. So I was going to say he's gone kind of off the deep end, right? So in every other facet of his life, he can still maintain himself in a press conference. He can still fairly maintain himself on the Pat McAfee show, but we've seen outbursts. We saw that push thing to Robert Saleh on the sidelines. I don't know that he's going to have what it takes to be the best leader out there. We saw a lot of stuff when he was first went to the Jets about like Garrett Wilson and all these people being so excited to play for Aaron Rodgers. And it doesn't feel like that team has that support as much anymore. And I don't know if that's just me not being on a Jets fan and reading every transcript from every press conference, but they were so vocal about it for so long, and it doesn't feel like the team is. I don't think we're at a Deshaun Watson level of he's lost the team, but I think it's tough. I think he's in a tough situation, and I don't think he has the play to back it up either. I know the Jets offensive line has not been the greatest in his tenure. I know he's recovering from the injury that would have ended someone else's career. And I think it's a great feat to come back as quickly as you did, but I don't know that was the best choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of his antics are one thing when you're coming off of like 2 MVP seasons out of Green Bay. You're on a new team, young weapons, and like you said, they're all really excited for him to be there. But then you tear your ACL at age, 37, 38?
Sorry, Achilles.
Yeah, my bad.
I think I might have said ACL too.
You tear your Achilles at age, in your late 30s, and all of a sudden, now you're a season removed from all of the good play that kind of lets you get away with all the weird stuff. You're still doing the weird stuff, maybe more than normal.
Yep.
And that team is not like you're not performing. It piles up really quickly at that age, because it's not like this team cannot look at you and say, oh, that's our future right there.
Yeah.
It was never supposed to be that. It was, this is our present. And all of a sudden now, 1.5 years into that experiment, you didn't
Your head coach
play
was
1 year,
fired.
and now you have to start looking for a new head coach. So yeah, I tend to agree with everything you said.
Yeah. It sucks. He's mortal. You know what I mean? So, I mean, he's not a great person, but in my eyes, but he is mortal. And I think we're seeing that for the first time in a couple of years. Obviously the injury showed us that, but then we hear about the speedy recovery and this crazy procedure, and he's coming back, and it's like, this guy is immortal. And now he comes out and he plays, and he's mortal. And I think he's cooked.
Yeah.
All right. My next person to ask you about would be Daniel Jones.
I mean, I just think he's cooked.
I agree, but let me hear your reasoning.
I think if someone is starting to buy into Daniel Jones right now,
could you imagine?
Well, yeah, and like if you're looking at it from the point of view of just this season, you're looking at it completely with no prior knowledge. You are a person that has only just started following football. You've never watched it before. You probably think, okay, like this guy's kind of good. He's getting better as the season goes on. He just had a really good game against a team with a winning record without his top wide receiver. That's an impressive thing in itself. In what is the word I'm looking for? In a vacuum. This week. However, that's what got the Giants in trouble.
Yeah.
That's what got the Giants in trouble, and that's why they paid him a crap ton of money. So no, it's not gonna I'm not gonna be okay with they beat a team who started 3-0, who he's never thrown a touchdown pass against prior to this week, by the way. Without it's not like he doesn't have other weapons. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson was a second-round pick. They had a third-round wide receiver pick from a year or two ago, whose name is escaping me. But yeah, I'm just not going to get fooled again. I wasn't really ever particularly fooled, but I think if you're buying in now, you just, I don't know. If I'm the Giants, I'm hoping that you buy an NFL franchise and you try to trade for Daniel Jones, because God forbid that anyone ever pays him that kind of money again. And if he's like a consistent starting quarterback in the league after this season, then I am very worried for whatever team that is doing. But yeah, I think he's been cooked. He's far overcooked at this point. And
it's burning. The house is burning.
Yeah.
Call the fire department.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, I posed the question specifically. I completely agree, and nothing is going to change my mind. He could be the friggin' MVP of the second half of the season, and I don't think I would change my mind. I'm scarred and burned. But I posed the question because he has played some of his most structurally sound football this season so far. There have been ups and downs, but Malik Neighbors has greatly improved his game. But turnovers are down. But the long balls are still somewhat of an issue. And it stinks that the offensive line is at its greatest and we're still getting a mediocre Daniel Jones. I think to me, that's the point, right? If I was a fan, I don't know how I want to phrase this, because I have strong opinions one way, but if I can wipe away some of the biases and some of the hurt from after signing Daniel Jones, I think that's the biggest upset, right? Yeah, this guy's not great, whatever, we paid him $1 million. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Teams get around it. It stinks that we have good offensive line play for the first time in a decade, and we're stuck with mediocre. And that, I think, to me, is the biggest thorn in my side. Yeah. Okay.
I can't even make fun of you for being a Giants fan right now. So
I know.
I mean, I can, but
your turn to ask me, sir.
The San Francisco 49ers, the 2-3 San Francisco 49ers.
2-3. Yeah, I want to look up the rest of their season schedule or the next couple of games. But I think they're cooking. I think that they've had a couple of hiccups in the road with injuries, right? So they lose Debo, they lose Christian McCaffrey, who by this point, if Adam Schefter keeps updating, we're gonna find out he doesn't have Achilles feet, and he doesn't have feet anymore, because every time we get a new update, it's like, hey, he's like kind of hurt one of his Achilles. Then it's like, okay, it's actually both. Okay, now he's seeing doctors. Okay, now he's in Germany.
Yep.
So next update is gonna be that he just doesn't have feet anymore. But you lose huge pieces of your offense that you've spent all off season game planning, getting everyone else up to speed on what your team is. And I think you're still trying to adapt. Now, George Kittle is banged up. I think that's a tough adjustment, but I do think the Niners are a team capable of overcoming it. I think Brock Purdy is still fine. I think the team is still fine. I think that they just haven't been playing their best ball. And I mean, they don't have a super easy schedule, but I don't find it too hard. They do play the Chiefs this week, which their defense has been great, so that might be a little bit of a challenge. They play the Cowboys, Bucks, Seahawks, Packers. They still have like Bears, Rams, Dolphins, all still in there. I think this team can easily come back and be a contender. I think they're just at not even a powerhouse, but I think they're just at a fork in the road where they're just trying to figure out their new identity with their key pieces being gone.
Yeah, I tend to lean more toward cooked. I think they've had one too many injuries. I not like permanently cooked, but
when does Debo come back?
He's already back, I thought.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Maybe I was thinking of Brandon Ayuk. He might.
You're thinking about Ayuk.
Kittle's back.
Kittle's like day to day. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
he's like a little banged up.
He played last week.
Yeah, but he's like a little banged up still. After like the last game, like he's feeling a little banged up. But
yeah, I just one too many injuries. I kind of think it's like a lost season a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think they'll ever get back to the strength that they're hoping to get back to in order to make an actual playoff run. Maybe they sneak into the playoffs. I just don't think it'll matter. And when you're the Niners and you have Super Bowl aspirations, I consider that cooked.
Okay, I can see the logic there.
Yeah.
Yeah. When is Debo coming back? I need to answer that question. When is Debo coming back? He went out September 26th. This is not an easy answer to find. Okay, we'll figure it out later. Question.
He just played, yeah.
Oh, did he? Okay.
He only missed one game. He's played the last two games.
Did he? What?
Yeah, that's
so
what I
he just
thought.
hasn't been. Okay, whatever. I'm wrong then. My next person for you to answer would be Doug Peterson.
He's cooked.
Yeah.
I really hate saying that. And it's going to sound like a very Homer take. But it's the thing that I've said it many a time on this podcast. Like, I really believe in Doug Peterson, the coach. However, the one thing dating back to his early days in Philly, basically following that Super Bowl win every season, the thing that he has always had trouble doing is restacking the coach's cabinet, and coaching his coaches. His commitment to Press Taylor is one that I thrive for in my love life at this point.
I was gonna say I love the loyalty, Doug, but
it's gonna get him fired. Press Taylor, I don't think he's ever been a good coach. He was best when he was like an offensive assistant for Philly. Like, he was the fourth man on the offensive totem pole behind Frank Reich, the offensive coordinator, Doug, obviously, and the quarterback's coach, whose name is escaping me. And he's the one that I guess found the Philly special play. Like, I guess that's why he still has a job, which honestly, I'm not paying for it, so I approve in a way.
Yeah.
But it will get Doug fired. And yeah, I unless he makes a change that at this point I'm not sure he's capable of doing, which is really revamping that coaching staff, which he probably should have done in the offseason. I think he's cooked. I think it's done. Which is a shame because I'm not totally convinced that he'll get another head coaching chance anytime soon or ever.
Yeah.
With the way that this is going. So I'm going to say probably cooked.
I agree with that. I think, again, love the loyalty from Doug, but I think you have to protect yourself at some point. And I think that it's not like you're just throwing someone else under the bus. Press Taylor hasn't been great, and you have reason to. I think the aspirations for this team as a whole are so high that this so low underperforming is just not going to fly. I really think he only might have a job right now because they won last week. I thought if they lost this week, he was the one getting fired and not Robert Saleh. So I think he only has a job this week because they won. And I don't think that's a way to run your franchise. I don't think that's a way you want to live as a coach. But I don't know that anybody really has confidence in him. And I don't think this team is going to progress. Like, it doesn't make sense for him to still have a job, which stinks to say, but they need to get out of it. And you have Trevor Lawrence, you have a bunch of young, great guys on that team, and you have to make use of it while you can. You're supposed to, coming into the last 2 seasons, you're supposed to be a contender, and you can't even hang in the midfield.
In a weak division, by the way. Well, at least last year it was supposed to be a weak division. But then
and you can't hang in the midfield. It's not flying anymore. It's not. They do go home to London soon. This week, right? Yeah, they go home to London. So we'll see. Maybe he'll be the next coach to come out of London fired. Isn't that he would be 3, right?
I have no idea.
I think Saleh was the second. I don't know who the first was, but I think Saleh was the second.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Your turn.
Speaking of head coaches, Antonio Pierce, Raiders head coach.
I think he's cooked, but I think he actually has a job through the rest of the year and possibly next season. I think the Raiders, I don't think he's good. I think that's what it is. I don't think he's good. I think he's fine. And the Raiders are going to slowly fall into the Titans category of what do we do here? Like I don't know. I think saying he has a job for next season is a little bit of a out there take. I have to see the rest of the season, but I do think he has a job at least for the rest of the season. But in my eyes, he's cooked. I haven't seen enough that it's nothing has convinced me that he's special. And I think there are better coordinators, coaches out there who could sit atop the helm if the Raiders are trying to rebuild. Yeah.
I never got the hiring in the first place. We've talked about that plenty. But yeah, I haven't seen. It feels like the team is falling apart, and he's losing the locker room. And why else is he there then?
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't be surprised if he still stays next year, just because, like, again, the Raiders are going to fall into like I don't know what to do here. Like it feels like that's where they're heading towards. While I think he should be done, I think he gets at least the rest of the season.
Yeah. That's fair.
My last one for you. Do you want to end on this one? You go one more time, and then I'll let you end on this one.
Okay. Anthony Richardson, quarterback, second-year quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, I think he's still cooking. I think he's had a rough start with all of the injuries he's accumulated. But I think his raw talent is off the charts. I saw a tweet this week that was like, I see clips from Anthony Richardson that 2 in a row. One clip is like, this is the best football player I've ever seen in my life. And then it's, what the hell is this guy doing throwing a football? Like, why is he on our team? And I think there's just a lot of parity in his game, but I think it needs to just be ironed out with more time. I don't think he's had enough time to do that. Yeah. I think it stinks that Michael Pittman is out now because I think he was such a safety blanket for Richardson. Shane Steichen had come out and said that Richardson is still their starting quarterback when healthy. But I still ride with Richardson. And I do think, while I think Shane Steichen is a great coach, I think they may need to simplify the offense a little bit more to kind of help Richardson out a little bit. I think we need to kind of like settle him and then let him do the crazy things.
Yeah, I get more worried with each passing week because he's either not playing, getting injured a quarter into the game, or not looking like a very good quarterback. He has some incredible throws, and that's great, but raw talent can only get you so far, and the fact that he hasn't played in that many games means he's not able to get better. Like,
yeah.
And that's who you drafted. That's the way he's going to play. And, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that he stays healthy after this. But it's like he's getting injured because he's putting himself in harm's way.
And that was what I was going to ask you. It's you view it as a self-protection thing, right? I'm pretty sure that's where everyone
I think it is. And you got to find a balance. And I haven't seen him be good enough as a passer to think that he can succeed without putting himself in harm's way necessarily. So, but part of that is he's played 5 full games in his NFL career. So nobody's seen all that much at all. So I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. All right. My final question for you.
Yeah.
You know it's coming.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni. Cooked or cooking?
I desperately want to say cooking. And I think you will get a more sure answer out of me after this week.
Okay.
Probably.
Who do you guys play this week?
The Browns, which actually isn't that impressive.
Okay.
But I believe that his players are still playing for him. They did not show up against the Bucs, but if you had told me in the preseason that they played a team down A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Lane Johnson on offense, I don't know what I would have told you. I would have expected very little to nothing. Because, I mean, their record with and without Lane Johnson just by itself throughout his whole career is ridiculous as to the fact that they just don't win him in games without him. I think he's probably cooked. I think he probably falls into that category of Robert Saleh, which is you're giving him one more chance.
And you shouldn't have. It's almost like your mind's made up beforehand. Like we talked about this expectations during the hot seat, right? That it's like you have to set valid expectations. Yeah. So while, yes, it could be valid for the Eagles to go and win a Super Bowl, right? Yep. It could be valid for the Jets to go and win a Super Bowl. I think your expectations need to be lower than that because the odds of anybody doing that are low, slim. Your expectations have to be better than that. But have to be lower than that. But setting this crazy expectation is only going to lead to underperformance. And I think that's where both of those coaches were at, is setting this crazy expectation and you're underperforming so early that it's like, why did we do this?
I don't even necessarily agree with that. Obviously, yeah, the Eagles are a Super Bowl or bust team, but that's because they have one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. Howie also probably isn't getting enough blame for the defensive struggles this year. I mean, Bryce Huff has done nothing. Devin White just got cut. And those were the 2 biggest defensive additions. Granted, there's been some hits in there. Saquon, Zach Bond on defense. Obviously, Quinyon Mitchell has looked incredible as a rookie. He's looked really, really good. The defense has been miserable. That's not really Nick Sirianni's fault, but at the end of the day, it's all his fault. Yep. The thing for me is they've just come out flat-footed seemingly every game. They haven't started fast, and Nick Sirianni definitely deserved one more year a lot more than Robert Saleh because of what he's already done and what he's proven that he can do. Robert Saleh has proven pretty much nothing except that he's a really good defensive coordinator.
Yep.
And a good defensive coach. Nick Sirianni took his team to a Super Bowl, and he's made the playoffs. But they look so similar to the team that ended last season going whatever it was, like 1 or 2 and like 6 and then falling flat in the playoffs. I don't remember the record, but I remember it was miserable to watch the entire time. And that was really the thing for me, where they still look like that team. Granted, it was without AJ Brown, it was without Devontae Smith, it's without Lane Johnson, so there are excuses to be had, but that's why I think in a week or two, all 3 of those guys are back. In a week or two, I'm going to know for sure how I actually feel, because I'm trying my best to give the team the benefit of the doubt to an extent, because I don't think the offense has been bad. I think Jalen Hurts, his problems have been probably overrated, because people like to hate on Jalen Hurts and they like to hate on Philadelphia. And I think a lot of it has been a lot more than his fault. He hasn't been great.
Yeah, he has no time in the pocket. I can understand that, but like at some point it's the same way a head coach kind of falls. It's the same way the offense kind of falls to the quarterback. Yeah. I do agree that people just have a bias against Jalen Hurts one way or another, it seems. And it falls, but like that adds into it. But at the end of the day, it falls back on him. If this is your guy, which obviously it is, the less time in the pocket, you have to find a way to overcome. You lost Jason Kelce. You knew there was going to be a difference. That also falls on Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator to not adapt a little bit more, to not figure out how to try and adapt this offense with people out, try and adapt the offensive line, try and give Jalen Hurts more time in the pocket, use his abilities a little bit better. Because I think they're underusing some of his talents this year. But that has showed more serious flaws. And I think the same way we have the conversation about it's a coordinator problem or it's a player problem, but it falls back on the head coach, is the same way an offensive problem falls back onto the quarterback.
Yeah. So probably cooked, but ask me again next week and we'll see if I'm more sure in my answer.
Yeah. I'm saying cooked, but
it's fair.
Yeah. All right, Duncan. That wraps up our show for this week. Any final words?
I hate Philadelphia sports.
All right. And where can we find you?
Crying in the shower, probably.
I just guessed crying. I mouthed it while you said crying.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually what I did after the Kawhi shot in the 76ers season back in, was that like 2018? I did go sit in the shower and cry.
You have to pick only one Philly team to be your team. You can't watch the rest. You can't root for the rest. Which Philly team?
It's Eagles. That's easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
They're the only ones that can completely
make or break
destroy
you?
My week. Yeah, they make or break my mental health on a regular basis. I mean, the Phillies, by all means, are third on that list. It still hurts because they had a really good team, and I love
Sixers
Bryce Harper.
are second, right?
Sixers are second, and I love Joel Embiid. Might be my favorite active Philly athlete because I just love that man with all my heart, and I want nothing but the best for him. So that does seeing them lose hurts even more because I see Joel Embiid lose. So
yeah, that's what I thought your answer would be, but I know that the Sixers were close up there, so I wanted to make sure.
No, it's Eagles.
Okay, where can we find you on other platforms?
At MPDuncan75 on Twitter, particularly,
on Twitter,
but actually also everywhere. But don't follow me on Instagram, please.
You can find me on Twitter at Ashley_Marie with 2 A's and Ashley. You could find me, Duncan, and the entire Undroppables crew on our Discord channels, which you can get access to by becoming a patron at patreon.com/theundroppables. You can find me and Duncan live Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Times, or playback on anywhere you listen to people in your ears, and on video to watch us with your eyes on YouTube. That wraps it up for the night. We hope you have a great week and that we see you here next week.
Go Birds.
Bye.